Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. I am Adam. This is United Daily Live. We are back with another United Daily Live, and of course, the latest Manchester United news, headlines, transfer rumours, and all that good stuff. So make sure you're keeping it locked by hitting that like button, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. We have got loads to talk about today. The futures of Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, Jadon Sancho, Twitter being forced into an apology to Phil Jones. That's a headline I didn't think I'd be reading out. And of course, and on this day as well, when on this day, today, PSG have knocked Atalanta out in the Champions League with two last-minute goals to overturn a 1-0 deficit. It was like 1999 at the Nou Camp all over again, except this time Atalanta were on the receiving end of a Choupo-Moting goal. Can you believe it, in the Champions League to send Paris Saint-Germain to the semi-finals? But we're not here to talk about those Frenchmen. We are here to talk about Paul Pogba and his potential new contract at the club. And we have had an update on when we could see those talks taking place and a potential deal being signed by Paul Pogba. This comes hot on the heels of reports that Mino Raiola and Ed Woodward and Manchester United's relationship had seemed to get a lot more pleasant in recent months. Mino Raiola had reportedly reached out to Ed Woodward after his house was attacked by Manchester United fans to make sure he was okay and everything was going well. And it looks like that relationship is well, and it could mean that it makes negotiations for Paul Pogba's contract a lot easier. When you've got a happy Paul Pogba as well at the club, it makes those negotiations a lot easier too. So we have got all that talk on Paul Pogba and of course Jesse Lingard. But first, let's get stuck into and on this day, and it is the 12th of August today. And on the 12th of August in 1967, it was a Saturday, Alex Stepney earned headlines he could have done without as he conceded a goal to rival keeper Pat Jennings in the FA Charity Shield match at Old Trafford. The Man United stopper saw a punt from Tottenham's Jennings bounce over him and into the goal to give the FA Cup holders a 2-0 lead. But United battled back to force a 3-3 draw with Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law on target. So that's what happened on this day in 1967. Alex Stepney got beaten by the opposition's goalkeeper, but thanks to Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law, it was alright on the night. Also on this day in 1974, we got a double whammy today. We got one which says George Best on the 12th of August 1974 arrived for his second match for Dunstable with a police escort. The match is delayed for an hour after Best's car broke down en route to the ground. So we had a police escort and his car breaks down en route to his game. Incredible scenes, as only George Best could do that. But of course, we're not here to talk about the past. And on this day in 2003, as Sean Ralph mentions, Cristiano Ronaldo joined Manchester United. And I watched the Cristiano Ronaldo movie for the first time last night. Decent watch. Obviously, it's like the Jordan movie where everything's ultimately positive about them. But, you know, the likes of Michael Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo, there's not a lot negative about them when it comes to how good they are at sport. So you got to understand why it's so positive. But, you know, it was a good watch, I thought. Cristiano Ronaldo winning 2 Ballon d'Ors, winning the Champions League and all that kind of stuff. I did enjoy it. But anyway, let's get stuck into these Pogba contract talks news, which has popped up today. And the report is Paul Pogba is happy at Manchester United and he's expecting the club to open contract talks once the Europa League campaign is over. There is a willingness from all parties to get round the table. And these are the reports from Sky. I got that tweet from United Report, so thank you to those guys for compiling the news together. I got another one from Man United Zone, which we'll be reading out in a bit as well. But it looks like Paul Pogba is set for a long stay at Manchester United and potentially taking him into the best years of his career at the club. His next contract is going to be 5-6 years, you'd imagine, and that would take him up to 32. So decent years for Manchester United to get out of Paul Pogba, and we need to get this deal signed. Look, we've seen how much we miss Paul Pogba when he's not in the team. Even with Bruno's arrival, we miss him. He's got that creativity. I still think we haven't seen all of him, you know, since his injury and coming back after the break. But that's to be expected after such a long layoff. I think next season we're going to get to see a much more improved Paul Pogba. and to hopefully towards the end of this Europa League run as well. And I think Bruno Fernandes too. He's still learning more about his teammates, and it's just going to be great to see that partnership there blossom. Hopefully, get that defender, that midfield balance in behind them correct. And then you look at the front three and the potential for the front threes. Even without Jadon Sancho, obviously we hope we can get Jadon Sancho through the door. But you look at those potential front threes: Greenwood, Rashford, Martial. If he can be playing in behind those for the foreseeable future, I have no doubts that will lead to trophies for Manchester United. So we need to continue what we're doing. We need to keep pushing in the right direction, and we need to make sure Paul Pogba is a part of that. If a happy Paul Pogba for Manchester United is a great thing to have, because he's one of the best midfielders in the world, and in my opinion, he's the best in the Premier League. You look at the stats that he had last season: top of assists, top of goals created, chance created, all this, that, and the other. He was leading the way for Manchester United, and he still took a lot of stick. Do you know what I mean? Because we know there's more to come from him, but now he looks settled. Now he's got his head down. Now he's moving, forward with everybody, and the manager's made an environment where players are happy. That's an important thing as well. We're seeing a manager that has made an environment where players are happy, not just Paul Pogba. Look at Rashford and Martial since they've been under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Showed nothing but improvements in their game. Mason Greenwood's blossoming really well, doing well at the moment. Nemanja Matic has started performing. Most of the players in our squad have improved under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and that's because of the environment that he's creating at Old Trafford. Yes, it's an environment that, everyone's got a team spirit, a team bond. It looks like they can have a laugh and a joke, but there's also seriousness about it. And he's got that direction, he's got that tunnel vision that we need to be aiming to win these big trophies. And when you've got that sense of direction, you're getting results on the pitch, you're bringing in the right players, you're accompanying that with talent coming through. You're making a team and you're making an environment which is making players say, actually, I want to play for that. I want to play for them. I want to play with these players and play like that and play in the Champions League and do all these things. So you have to take your hat off to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the way he has handled the Paul Pogba situation. This could have ended last summer with Paul Pogba leaving. It didn't. Now, we didn't get much use out of him in the first half of the season. He was injured for a lot of it, but he's got him down, he's got him settled, and he's made it at Manchester United not all about Paul Pogba. I don't think Paul Pogba's ever wanted it to be all about him. He's a central midfielder. Therefore, he relies on having good players around him as well. You can't do it all. You can't do it all, because if you're expecting Paul Pogba to do it all, it's going to be to the detriment of the team. Because when he tries to force things and he doesn't play his natural game, he doesn't look great. So you've got to take your hat off to what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing. You have to. We've got a super chat from Aditya Raju who says, "Hey Inter, hope United win the Europa League." So do I. Add Grealish to that attack, says Visha. Fingers crossed, we will be doing that. Add Party as well, says Ross. I would love that to happen, but it doesn't feel like that's going to be a possibility in this transfer window, unfortunately. Hello there, saying they feel bad for Atalanta. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the show. Make sure you're hitting that like button, you're commenting, you're sharing, you're subscribing as well. We need you to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get on the road to 100,000. We are now just under 19,000 away from doing that. With your help, we can get there. So get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, get subscribing, get your super chats in, get joining if you can. And Ross Murphy says there's still some dead wood to get rid. Still mostly the ones that have been out on loan. Obviously, Alexis Sanchez, that deal is done, and thank God, because he got injured today and he's out for the next few games. We need to get a deal done for Chris Smalling, and the recent rumours surrounding Chris Smalling with that Inter Milan were interested in him. I imagine he's gone on holiday. He's going to come back soon. And hopefully a deal will be arranged for him to make a move, because you look at the players that, the teams that could potentially come in for him. There's a talk about Inter Milan. Roma may come back in for him. You don't know if they can sell some players or raise some funds or whatever. And I imagine some Premier League clubs would come in for him as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were already speaking with the club and finding out his availability. Phil Lopez says, Why do I hear your voice singing Martial songs when I score with him on FIFA? Because Tony Martial scores again. I don't know why. Maybe because you associate that song with the vlogs and stuff like that. I don't know. Or maybe because I'm You know, he's my favourite player. It's quite surreal actually. Like when I went to Singapore, and we walked into the bar, the United fans that saw me and were happy to see me, which was incredible by the way. I didn't expect that kind of reaction. Started singing the Martial song, and it was like, I'm not Martial, but you guys know me so well that you're singing that song because it's like, it's proper weird, man. I find it mad that people actually tune in to watch this. So thank you very much to you, not us. Which signings would I like to see, says MD Ibs. Everybody knows I want to see Jadon Sancho. Everybody knows I want to see Jack Grealish. Everybody knows that I want to see a centre half, and potentially Thomas Partey. I think the latter two might be I think Grealish and Partey might be difficult, but I can see the other two happening. The Dortmund sporting director says he expects Jadon Sancho to stay with Dortmund, says Jansen Austin. That's true. We have heard them briefing that they expect Jadon Sancho to stay at the club now that this deadline has passed. But reports are also saying that Manchester United are confident, and they remain confident, of reaching a breakthrough in their pursuit of Jadon Sancho, despite Borussia Dortmund standing firm on their £108 million valuation. And that's from The Independent via Manchester United Zone. So thank you to those guys and their great Twitter page. And they're saying that, you know, despite the fact that Dortmund are saying United must pay £108 million for Jadon Sancho, United are still confident of getting a deal done. Now, we heard reported before, I think it was in Build, that a €60 million bid had been made, an €80 million bid had been made, but United hadn't yet made a bid of €120 million or any bid that would reach that amount. So we're waiting for United to make this bid and get the player in. Now, they're probably hoping the player will hand in a transfer request. Now, there were some reports from the British press that the player is concerned that the move hasn't moved as quickly as he would have liked, and he is consider handing in a transfer request. And I think that's probably what United are waiting for, the player to agitate for a move. Now, I think they've got about 10 days until their next game, and it could maybe be the case that, you know, in this time we see something happen in that regard. I don't know what Red Devil's talking about right now, but you can swing on that one. Ruben Neves would cost just as much as Grealish or even Sancho Premier League prices. Yeah, I don't think it'd go up to the €120 million, but I definitely think they'd ask 60 million for him at the very least. If we're getting any Dutch player, it should be Van der Beek, says Cress as well. I think Mata will go. I love him, but he might want more first team football, says Ross, and I can totally see that happening as well. As good as Matt has looked in the Europa League, I do think that might happen. Really want Dalot to be given a chance. Williams at left back looked a bit shaky against Copenhagen, says MD Ibs. Look, I think I think Brandon Williams, you look at the Chelsea game, he made a mistake. He's made a few errors, but come on, he's a young lad, you know what I mean? His first season in first team football, he's done more good things than he has done bad things, and I think we just have to realise that younger players are going to make the odd mistake or two. I wouldn't panic too much, but I agree with you in terms of Diogo Dalot. He's a player that I wouldn't necessarily give up on. I just feel that United probably think that Diogo Dalot can attract a decent substantial fee. So if you can get 20-25 million was reported into Milan wanted to pay for Smalling, and you can get 20 million for Diogo Dalot, that's a big chunk in, 45-50 million in for those two players. Now, it might not be possible in this market, I don't know, but I can see why United would possibly look to sell the player. So there you go. Solskjaer wants Lingard to stay, is another story. Adam H, that's never going to happen, mate. Not my cup of tea. Not on the cards ever. Forever. Solskjaer wants Lingard to stay, and Lingard loves Manchester United, but first team playing time is an issue, says Sky Sports. And if you remember, I did give you a little bit of it's not even an exclusive because I think it's obvious. I asked Jesse Lingard myself after the game at Old Trafford against Lask Linz, was it your last game at Old Trafford for United? And he said no chance. So there was clearly a desire on Jesse Lingard's behalf to be staying at Manchester United, and I have no doubt that he wants to stay at Manchester United. Now, I also have no doubt that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually likes Jesse Lingard. He probably thinks he's a decent player. but he probably also thinks you're not gonna be first choice for me. You're gonna be a squad player. Now I think personally, a fit and on form, happy Jesse Lingard offers more currently than Pereira, James, and I think Juan Mata has been great in the Europa League. But when you're playing this quick football, then Juan Mata as well. Obviously, Juan Mata as a footballer, I think is far and away ahead of Jesse Lingard and what he's achieved and everything. But listen to what I'm saying. I think he offers more than them as a squad player. But if you bring in Sancho and Grealish, then he's not going to get game time, and you can totally see this becoming an issue in terms of him wanting first team football. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is guaranteed not going to be able to guarantee him that. He's guaranteed to not be able to guarantee him it. And Jesse Lingard is probably going to want some certain promises about playing time. Now, he's not in a position to really demand that, so he needs to get his head down and graft his way back into the team. It's as simple as that. Dean Wahid with the super chat says, how many signings do we need to make this summer? I think 2 or 3 signings will be made. I think we need to make 3 if we want to challenge. A centre half, a striker, and another midfielder, whether an attacking one or a defensive one. But we need to do that. How many signings do we need to make this summer on top of Sancho and Grealish as Dean? 1 or 2 in the next couple of windows, I think. I don't think we're going to make 2 more signings on top of... If we sign Sancho and Grealish in a dream world, we're not making 2 more signings, I don't think, personally. Maybe 1 more. But it wouldn't be a massive... It'd probably be like a £20 million signing. Like, you know, when we signed Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire and Daniel James, you had an 80 million, a 50 million and a like 15 million. I can imagine it being like that, like in the kind of, you know, Jadon Sancho would be 100 million, then probably like a 50 million player and a 20 million player. And that's, if you think about that, 170 million pound, 175 million pound, United have apparently got 150 million to spend. If you bring in 30, 40 million in sales, you can more than achieve that. How confident are you that we're going to sign Sancho? Says Rebecca. I am still 9 out of 10 on that one, but anything can happen. I just think there's such a long time to go in the transfer window. United will make it happen, even if it does drag on. We know what they're like. If they don't, there's probably going to be riots on their hands. Anoop says, do you think our free kick training is below par? All free kick specialists in our team, Fred, Pogba, Rashi, Bruno, Pogba, all diminished in free kicks. Well, Pogba's not really had any. Bruno's recently scored one. Rashford scored one this season. Fred is awful on the minute. I think Mata's good at them. I think it's down to players to be good at those things. They're the kind of things you practice on your own. I think in terms of, if you mean set piece training, I think we should score more goals from corners and free kicks from wide areas. But in terms of goal scoring opportunities from free kicks, I think that's down to a player. And I think you can see Bruno probably works on them, Rashford works on them, Mata works on them, Pogba probably works on them. So that's not a concern for me at all, Anoop. But thank you for your super chat and thank you for getting involved. The champion's back in the house as well. Hope you're doing well, mate. Thank you for joining us. Grealish forcing his way out, says Matt. It doesn't look like that's happening at the moment, but I'm hoping it does become something that does happen, because, you know, I think to get Jack Grealish out of Aston Villa, you're going to need to force their hand a little bit. Now, Aston Villa are probably playing hardball a little bit just because they can. They're still in the Premier League, and they need to show that, we're not just going to let our players leave. Do you know what I mean? We're not just going to let Man United come and take Jack Grealish for nothing. We're going to fight for him. So, yeah, they're going to do that. They're coming from a strong position, aren't they? Staying in the Premier League now. Shabat says, no Sancho, then we should go for Chiesa. I want to see Martial do a Messi sort of goal if we make the final, says Ross Murphy. And I watched back the Europa League coverage, because obviously when the game finished, we did fan cams and things like that. So I watched back the Europa League coverage, and I was looking at Robin Van Persie's punditry on Anthony Martial, and I was glad that we've got someone that knows. And you usually hear like certain people say this, that, and the other about Martial. But you see when you hear proper strikers talk about him, Thierry Henry, Robin van Persie, these guys, they know when they see a player. Dimitar Berbatov, they know when they see a player. And Anthony Martial is that. I said in a video that we did earlier, I think it was uncensored, that I wouldn't swap Martial for any other striker in the league. And I stand by that. I think currently, Harry Kane, Aubameyang, Sergio Aguero, Jamie Vardy, you could argue they're better than him in terms of they're at a stage in their career where they're in their peak or they're just coming to the end of their peak. So you'd expect that. But you see when Martial's at their ages, let's take a look then, because I think he'll be on another on the same level as kind of like an Aguero type, or on another level altogether. Absolute baller, and it's great to have seen the development of him this season, and that sharpening of the focus and the tunnel vision towards being a better player. Again, comes down to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. RVP knows ball, game recognises games, cannon baller. The Dembele links have received a lot of backlash. For me, he's the only alternative to Sancho, says Davey. Nah, I don't want that one to happen. He's going to be a lot of money and it's a big risk, I think. Just want to know that Paul isn't leaving, says Rishan is not leaving. He's not going anywhere. Ravi Kishore says Neymar was on fire today. I want a dribbler like him in our team. Martial is the closest to him. Yeah, it was weird reading the timeline and watching the game. People were trashing Neymar, and I think he missed a couple of sitters that he should have scored. But apart from that, his all-round play was amazing. He's the best player on the pitch. You look at his pass for Mbappe for the winner. You look at his control in the pass. He got a little bit of luck. Maybe he was trying to shoot. I don't know. But the cross for Marquinhos' goal. I think Neymar was the best player on the pitch today, and he deserved to come out on the winning team. And it would have been over earlier if he scored his chances. Obviously, you have to take him. But I thought he was amazing today. For me, the only one... Well, not the only one, but one of those that will possibly take on the mantle after Messi and Ronaldo move on a little bit. But you've got other men coming through as well. Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Rashford, Marshall. Who knows where they can go? You never know. But Neymar's the one that stands out for me. He's at that stage in his career where I think once Messi and Ronaldo don't win it, it'll be him. What would be your cut-off date to abandon the Sancho if a deal won't happen and to approach other targets? The window closes in October. That's the mad thing. We're going to get rested up. We're going to get more time to rest through the Europa League. Because, let's say if we get to the final, then we're going to get, I think 2 weeks extra rest. So we start the season at the end of September. They could just drag it on for another 6 weeks. Does the transfer window close in October? Pricey. What kind of question is Neymar or Sterling? I'm not going to justify that with an answer. It's like earlier I seen someone put Neymar or Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard is the biggest myth. He looked good with some of the things that he did, but he never really delivered like that. Maybe a season or something, but people used to talk about him like he was Messi, Ronaldo level. Nah, mate. Nah. Rishan says, I would like United to go after Grealish. Same here. Mason Van Greenwood. Yep. Adama Traore on our list? Nah, not for me, Akshay. I don't think so. Vincent says, yes, 5th of October, the transfer window closes. Vishal, how can I forget Robert Lewandowski? But I was just talking about strikers in the Premier League when I was talking about strikers. But maybe, for the Ballon d'Or as well, it could happen. Reaction if we lose to Sevilla. We haven't lost to them yet, so I think we'll beat them. But even then, if we lose to them, I can't give you a reaction before that happens, because it could be an unlucky defeat, a deserved defeat, go out on penalties, you go out in various ways, and they all mean your reaction could be different. we could absolutely batter them like we did Arsenal in that cup final in 05 and losing on penalties. Could happen. Where do you think Greenwood could end up? What's his ceiling? Says Musa, the very, very top. Very, very top. That's where Mason Greenwood's going. Right up there. Let's end today on a story that I didn't think I'd be speaking about. United have forced Twitter to apologise to Phil Jones. Twitter did a tweet which no one could reply to, so they were showing off their new features, where they said, name a better footballer than Phil Jones. Now obviously they were being sarcastic, and they were trying to force a Twitter pylon. So they're very contradictory of Twitter. They preach anti-bullying, but then they call for Twitter pylons and ridicule and criticism of someone. A bit like Rachel Riley at the moment, or for the last couple of years. But that's what you see from these guys. And yeah, I don't understand why they did it. And now Manchester United made a complaint. They made a complaint to them, and once they did that, Twitter deleted the tweet and were forced to make an apology. So that's what happened with Twitter, trying to cause a pylon for Philip Jones. And I don't get when they never added him, to be fair, but I don't get when people do that, when they're criticising a player or someone and they at him in it. It's like, what do you expect to gain from that? Like, it don't make no sense. So yeah, there you go. That is the weird story of today. Anyway guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, keeping it locked to AdamMcKola TV. We have got plenty more coming your way. But for now, I've been AdamMcKola. It's so hot, man. I am